Hello, YouTube divers. This is WaterDive122, and I want to welcome you all back to another episode of Magic Metal Mondays, or should I say, another special edition episode of Magic Metal Mondays. Today, we are going to be talking about probably the most controversial band that I've ever done on this series so far, and that is the band Maroon 5. Now, yes, I know they're a pop band, and I tend not to and I tend to ignore pop bands on this channel. But Maroon 5 somehow is some sort of exception to me. Now, this was a band that I was really into before I got into metal, like long before I got into metal. So, I only thought it would be wise to at least try and rank their albums. As of right now, they have 7 albums, releasing their most recent this year, the album Geordie, which is very good, but very good for a modern day pop album, that's for sure. And that's saying a lot because there's not really a lot of modern day pop albums that are actually really good. But I'll talk about it when we actually get to it. So, without further ado, let's get cracking. So coming in at number 7. Now I have not heard much of Geordie lately, so you might think that I might put that one at the bottom because of my non-familiarity with it, if that's even a thing. But no, I am going to be putting 2017's Red Pill Blues here at number 7. You probably could have seen this coming from a long way away. This album is terrible, in my opinion. If you're like a pop fan, then I guess you'll dig this album. But the main reason why I put this one at the bottom is because they have just gone full out electronic. They don't use real. I don't think they use real machines. And when they go live, they're just pretending to play on their instruments. They use more drum machines, more catchy lyrics, and plus they usually don't write their own material. This album is just so unoriginal. There is just now I will say there are several good songs on here. I mean, the standout tracks on here are the beautiful ballad Memories. I think that's on this album. And What Lovers Do has a nice little hook to it. But yeah, this album is it's just not great at all, and it's, in my opinion, one of the worst albums I have ever heard. It's just, this album is just bad. It's bad. All right, so we're moving on to number 6. Number 6, Geordie from 2021. All right, their most recent album, and I'd say now, yeah, it does have a lot of, does basically suffer the same weaknesses as Red Pill Blues did. It's just completely unoriginal. There's lots more featured guests on here, but the song Remedy on this album features Stevie Nicks, and Stevie Nicks is one of my all-time favorite female vocalists. She does a nice job fitting in there with the band, even though that it's not really her type of music. I mean, if you know Stevie Nicks, you would know that she had a phenomenal solo career, and she actually kickstarted her career back in the 70s with Fleetwood Mac. Oh yeah. But it's kind of weird to listen to Stevie Nicks on a Maroon 5 album out of all places. Even if I do end up making it through Geordie, this is, in terms of originality, it's not much better compared to its predecessor. But I do say that it is improvement because Remedy is a really great song and it features Stevie Nicks, so that's why I put it a little bit higher than Red Pill Blues. But really, those two albums are just in the same league for me. Okay, and now we go into number 5, 2010's Hands All Over. Now, if you want to talk about bad album covers, that one is, oh man. or should I say weird album covers, because that is a, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go check it out, but, oh, God. But anyways, so yeah, controversial album cover, but really the songs in of its own self are meh. I mean, this is really the only album that I can't really remember a single track off this album except for the title track. The title track's pretty neat. Um, this album does have its moments, and it's way better than the first two albums I've talked about. But in terms of what Maroon 5 have done, it's just it's just like in the mess section. It's not terrible, but it's kind of forgettable. I don't really know how to describe Hands All Over. It's a weird album from the album cover alone. Um, and Adam Levine's vocals are just Adam Levine's vocals. What more can I say? In my opinion, Adam Levine is probably one of the most consistent singers I've seen. But yeah, with that said, Hands All Over from 2010 comes here at number 5. Number 4, the 2014 album V. Now, I basically put this album this high mainly because it brings me back nostalgia. And as I said, it came out in 2014, so I was only in 4th grade at the time. And that was a time where I was really into Maroon 5. And I digged a lot of their music. I had their debut album. I also had this album, and I also have Overexposed. Well, it's my mom who owned the albums because, she's a big Maroon 5 fan. Anyway, this album has its moments, and a lot of people basically put this album a lot lower on the list, but this is one of those modern day pop albums that works for me. I mean, the song Maps, in of its own self, is just a killer opener. Yeah, it does have a lot of drum machine work and, a lot of modern day pop cliches that I don't care about, but it works somehow. It Was Always You is a great song. I love the My Heart Is Open duet with Adam Levine and Gwen Stefani. That's really killer duet in my opinion. Let me see. In Your Pockets is a nice song for me. It is a good song too, in my opinion. As well as Coming Back for You. That's probably my favorite song off the album. Killer song. And yes, I even like the big hit off of this album, which is Sugar. Yeah, I do like Sugar a lot. But the music video is a little bit controversial, so there's that. So with that said, the V coming in at number 4. Number 3, It Won't Be Soon Before Long from 2007. Maroon 5's second album. Now, in terms of rock, in terms of whether or not this album rocks compared to its predecessor, it's kind of on the same level, but, and yes, there are a lot of great songs on here, with my favorite on here being Wake Up Call. I believe that's the name of the song. And I think Moves Like Jagger was off of this album, or maybe that was off Hands All Over. I don't really remember. But regardless, this album is killer. It's a great second album, great follow-up to Songs About Jane. But it is a step down in terms of quality. It is a step down in terms of instrumentation. It's a step down compared to musicianship. This album is basically a tad bit of a step down compared to Songs About Jane, but it's still a freaking killer album that freaking rocks. So with that said, It Won't Be Soon Before Long, coming in here at number 3. Number 2, the 2012 album, Overexposed. Another nostalgic album for me. Now, obviously I was not listening to this in 2012, but I heard it later on in my life, and I digged so many of the songs on here. Like, the first 5 songs, including One More Night, are freaking amazing to me. Daylight is a killer song. Lucky Strike is another one. even though the chorus is as poppy as I'll get out. The Man Who Never Lied has a great hook to it. Uh, I can do without the rap verse on Payphone by Wiz Khalifa. I don't remember what his name is. But yeah, I much prefer the cleaner version without the rap verse of on of Payphone. Um, and then we look at the second side of the album. Love Somebody is a great song. Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's the name of the song. I was just trying to remember the song title. Yeah, Love Somebody's a great song. Lady Killer, freaking amazing. I don't really care for Fortune Teller that much. The song Sad is such a beautiful ballad. And then the final three songs, Tickets, Doing Dirt, and Beautiful Goodbye. Beautiful Goodbye is a rocking track. Doing Dirt is just like one of those modern day pop disco songs that, is good, but, in terms of quality, I could do without. And then Tickets, I mean, it's not a bad song. It's just weird. It's a very, very, very weird song. From the way Adam Levine sings it to Matt Flynn's drumming, it's just what. Um, so what I'm basically trying to say is that this album definitely has a lot of momentum, and there are several songs that do reign consistent with me at least. This is another album where a lot of Maroon 5 fans would probably put a little bit lower on the list, but I absolutely love this album, even though it is like a modern day pop album, and it's just, and as a metalhead, I don't really care for modern pop that much, but like I said with the V, this is one of those modern day pop albums that works for me, and it brings me back true nostalgia, and it brings me back great memories of when I absolutely loved this record. And it still reigns true, but there's one album that I love a little bit more, so let's talk about it. Number one, their debut album from 2002, Songs About Jane. Now, yeah, I tend to give a lot of flack to debut albums, but this album is freaking amazing. If you saw the description on my top 10 favorite albums video, this was one of those albums that was in the honorable mentions section. I absolutely love this album. It's a top 10 debut album for me. It's a really great album, and I wish that Maroon 5 would have sticked to this formula. Because they just are freaking... This album rocks the most. It's their most heaviest album. Compared... And they were basically coming off of a different project where they were more grungier. Kara's Flowers was the name of their original project. They scrapped that. Maroon 5 was born. 2002, they released their first album. And it was really, like, several years after this album came out where people really started to recognize it. Now, outside of the big hits, the big hit off of this album, which was She Will Be Loved, which is good, I guess. You also have the freaking openers that are Harder to Breathe, This Love, Shiver. That's a great three-way punch of albums, of songs right there. You also have Tangled, The Sun, Must Get Out, Sunday Morning, which is another big hit for them. Through With You is a really great song. Not Coming Home is a great song. And Sweetest Goodbye ends the album off with a ginormous bang. If it opened up with a bang, it ended with a bang. Now, there's only one song on here that I don't really care about, and that's the 9th track on this album, which is Secret. I don't really care about that song that much, but I've heard this record so many times that I'm just used to it. This is definitely the most listened record this is definitely the most listened to out of Maroon 5's records, in my opinion. It's probably their easiest album to get into, depending on what genre of music you like. But this album rocks. It's a solid album from start to finish. Great catches. Originality is at its maximum here, and on the next album too. But my goodness, this album is a masterpiece. And like I said, I really wish that Maroon 5 would have stick to this formula because it works so well, and all the songs connect with me, all but one at least. This is a great album, one of my favorite debut albums of all time. Songs About Jane from 2002. There you go. And with that said, that concludes Maroon 5's album rankings. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is WaterDive 122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.